But something like a dried anchovy, you just fry it and eat it. It's almost like, it's heavenly, even without anything, just with, little spices, people who like it.
In Bangladesh, the Bombay duck, both the fresh one and the dried one are the like most demanding and cherished. People just love dried Bombay duck. Also, the fresh Bombay duck, normally people fry it because, as you said, the fish is very, very aqueous. Like sometimes, like 7 or 8 kg fish needed to produce 1 kg dried fish. It's basically it's water, just watery fish. But people still like the taste in fresh, but mostly the dried Bombay duck is the #1 product, and everyone in Bangladesh and then in also the overseas country where Bangladeshi diaspora living, they are just very fond and mad about the Bombay duck taste.
When I was growing up, we never cooked dried fish at home. So it was only after I got married and went to my husband's place that I really got into eating dried fish, because my mother-in-law likes to eat dried mackerel curry a lot. So that used to get prepared in the house, and that's how I developed the taste for dried fish. And then slowly, when I shifted to Cochin and dried fish is available here, and I realized that there are several dishes that can be made out of dried fish, that it became a regular sort of in my household too. So I think taste can be acquired as well. Just when Mostafa was telling about if two people got married and one ate fresh and one only had a taste for dried fish, what would they do? I think tastes are acquired as we, go along. I think tastes are acquired.
So we grew up and I'm from the coast in Sri Lanka. So I grew up with fresh fish and dried fish from the sea. But when I went to Cambodia and started studying dried fish in Cambodia, one of the main differences for me in terms of taste and smell and the process was in getting used to the fish from the freshwater sources, so from the river and the lake Tonle Sap.
In my case, I grew up in the mountains in Sri Lanka, and then I got married to Colombo, which is coastal. And my daughter was born here. So when I was getting advice from my mom and mother-in-law, they told me that anchovies are very important to introduce to a baby when we introduce them the solid food, the pureed form. And my mom asked me to just add an anchovy to the rice and the lentil and that I would cook for her. I didn't cook her that because I went by fruits and other stuff that I can find here. But then from my mother-in-law's side, I got this package and there were little bottles filled with ground anchovies, like dried ground anchovies. So it was a powder, and she made sure that I add a little bit at least once a week to make sure that she get the calcium. So that's how early that taste is introduced to babies.
Semen, plain table, salad, soup, chicken, semen, salad, ready some Monday in that one of the semen, made them one of the name and the say. ഞാനിത് പഠിച്ചത് അമ്മയിൽ നിന്നാണ്. അമ്മയുടെ അമ്മയിൽ നിന്നും പഠിച്ചതാണ്. അങ്ങനെ തലമുറയായിട്ട് കൈമാറി വന്ന ഒരു രുചിയാണ്. മീൻ കിട്ടുമ്പോഴാണ് ഇങ്ങനെ ഉണക്കി സൂക്ഷിക്കാറുള്ളത്. കറിക്കൊന്നും കിട്ടാത്ത സമയത്ത് നമ്മളിത് കറിയായിട്ടും ഉപയോഗിക്കും.
সোনা বন্ধুরে আমি তোমার নাম লইয়া কান্দি, গগনেতে ডাকে দে আসমান হইল আন্দিরে বন্ধু, আমি তোমার নাম লইয়া কান্দি।
On the Thonnesap Great Lake in Cambodia, men, women and children living in floating villages such as this was preparing to shift their houses at the end of the flooding season, away from the highest point of the tributaries. The annual flooding of the Thonnesap Lake, as the Mekong swells with floodwaters and reverses its flow, has been a central part of Cambodian life, livelihoods and culture for generations. This season also marks one of the busiest times of the year for making prahok or fish paste using small migratory fish such as Siamese mudcarp.
ដើម្បីធ្វើប្រហុកយើងត្រូវកាត់ក្បាលត្រីវះពោះនិងលាងសម្អាតវាឲ្យស្អាតបន្ទាប់មកដាក់វាហាលក្រោមកម្ដៅថ្ងៃរហូតដល់វាស្ងួតហើយយកវាទុកខ្ញុំបានចាប់ផ្ដើមធ្វើប្រហុកអស់រយៈពេលជាង30ឆ្នាំហើយតាំងពីខ្ញុំមិនទាន់បានរៀបការខ្ញុំធ្វើប្រហុកជារៀងរាល់ឆ្នាំទាំងអំឡុងពេលខ្ញុំពពោះកូនទាំង4របស់ខ្ញុំក្នុងឆ្នាំខ្លះខ្ញុំធ្វើប្រហុក 3 ទៅ 5 ខែក្នុងមួយឆ្នាំហើយអ្នកខ្លះទៀតធ្វើប្រហុកតែ2 ខែសម្រាប់រយៈពេលពេញមួយឆ្នាំខ្ញុំទិញត្រីពីអ្នកនេសាទនៅទីនេះដើម្បីធ្វើប្រហុកអំឡុងពេលរដូវប្រាំងខ្ញុំទៅនេសាទប៉ុន្តែវាមិនទៀងទាត់នោះទេអ្នកភូមិជាច្រើននៅទីនេះទិញប្រហុកពីខ្ញុំជាជាងទិញពីផ្សារដោយសារតែប្រហុករបស់ខ្ញុំមិនដាក់ម្សៅគីមីដែលធ្វើឲ្យប្រហុកមើលទៅពណ៌សនោះទេគ្រួសាររបស់ខ្ញុំញ៉ាំប្រហុកដែលខ្ញុំធ្វើយើងលាងសម្អាតវាជាមួយទឹក 4, 5, 6 ដងរហូតដល់វាស
Historically, families used to travel in their bullock carts from the agricultural areas to the Mekong River bank to access fish to make prahok. They used to set up camp on the riverside, buy or barter small fish, either Siamese mudcarp or trireel, and make prahok on the riverside and take it home. Making fish paste from the abundant fish catch during the season ensured a source of protein during the dry season, especially July and August, when fresh fish was more scarce and the agriculture harvesting season was at its peak. During these times, prahok served as a very convenient accompaniment to the rice-based diet of Cambodians. Prahok is prepared in many different ways in Cambodian homes. It is also gaining increasing recognition as an ethnic food with the dispersal of Cambodians around the globe and ever-growing tourism in Cambodia. However, the future of prahok depends on taste preferences of generations to come, especially the younger generations of Cambodia.
Karawala Hodda, dried fish curry in a spicy rich coconut sauce made with different types of fish, queen fish, tuna, sailfish. Roshni is part of a diaspora of 3 million people of Sri Lankan origin who live overseas. Or Karawala Badung, fried dried fish. The dried fish that Roshni loves comes from coastal communities such as Devinur on the south coast, produced predominantly in small-scale family businesses. In Devinur, Kanti, a dried fish processor, has her own favorite preparations of dried fish.
Hoya, 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 hoya.
Negombo, dried fish hub on the west coast of Sri Lanka, reputed as a bustling wholesale and retail market for dried fish for centuries. Dried fish from all over the island, including Devinur, ends up in the market here. Women are active among small-scale dried fish traders, while men control the medium and large-scale businesses in this market.
I'm married for 28 years, and I don't think I've ever been able to make a generation eat the fish I used to bring from Kerala, properly dried, nicely spiced, because they thought it's very smelly.
When he started, asking questions from these vendors and people who were making these about the quality of the product and, how do you make it and how do you relate to this? They actually would open up, if they are the vendors, they would open the bottle that it's stored in and would give it to you to smell. And at first, my first reaction was like, oh my God. But then, slowly you start getting used to it. And then I realized that, like a connoisseur of the people who would know this stuff, they can actually distinguish between the quality, like they would be able to point towards quality product with the smell only.
The very name of the fish is in some sense a reference to its smell, because because that particular coach was stinking, according to the British masters, that they started calling it Bombay duck.
When I talked about Bombay duck, maybe 2 or 3 neighboring household know that someone is cooking Bombay duck. But if it comes to the fermented product, the whole village know that something is going on, and it is too intense, too pungent, too stinky. So if you don't eat it, just don't go near it.
Bombay duck, known as Bumelo, Bombil, Bumla in Gujarat and Maharashtra, and Loita in West Bengal, is mainly found in the waters between Mumbai and Kutch in the Arabian Sea. The curious name may have originated from the British, referring to the stench emanating from the Bombay mail or duck that carried the fish from Bombay to Calcutta, or from the Bazar cry in Marathi, Bomilta, here is Bomil. Gujarat accounts for 2/3 of Bombay duck landings in the entire Indian coast. Nawabandar, Jafrabad, and Rajpara are the main landing centers. The fish caught by dell nets is washed in the creek water and hung on the scaffolds for drying after interlocking pairs at the jaws. Women provide the entire labor for drying the fish. Dried Bombay duck makes its way in trucks to Bombay, to Northeast, and to Bangladesh. In the late 1990s, import of Bombay duck was banned by the European Union, raising sanitary concerns. The British patron fought tooth and nail to get the ban revoked to get it back on the menu of South Asian restaurants. Bombay duck is known for its pungent stench and strong, fishy, and excessively salty taste with the brittle, crumbly texture. But aficionados love the stench and crunch. Bombay duck, not just a fish, it is a recurring metaphor in popular culture. It has been used to signify the diasporic population's nostalgic association with the cultural exotica that is India, as also convey the mismatches in the life and the realities around.